The question would be, well, why would the founders, our founding fathers, why wouldn't they put in the Constitution, by the way, never turn on your children and kill them? You know what I think? I think they never thought humanity would stoop that low.
Yeah, it wouldn't even be something.
I don't think they had in mind, we'll get to a point within 200 years here to where they'll turn on their own children and slaughter them. I don't even think the founders thought we would ever reach that low down and sorry and murderous people that we are. I mean, last week, it's something like over 100 were shot dead. I throw in the little supermarket, throw that in there, and the church out there in California. But you say there was another 90,
in cities,
80 or 90 that was slaughtered in the streets of America.
Right.
You're like, what is this? When you see that much death and that much murder, whether it be infants or on the streets of a major city, when you see that kind of stuff, you can know Satan is having a field day.
He's alive and well.
Well, when you read James 1:13, it kind of gives you the picture of how you get to that point, because it says, when tempted, no one should say, God is tempting me. For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. But each one is tempted when by his own evil desire he is dragged away and enticed. After desire gives birth to sin. Yep. Sin, when it's full grown, gives birth to death.
Yep.
Spiritually and sometimes physically, to your point. But watch what he says in the next verse. Don't be deceived. We're getting back to this deceit, which I know started in the garden. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who doesn't change like shifting shadows. And this goes back to what we talked about last podcast. He chose to give us birth through the word of truth, that we might be kind of a first fruit.
There you go.
Well, if Jesus is the firstborn of all the creation, the point I was making about he's given us the right to become sons and daughters of God, we become the first fruits of what he created.
Correct.
Through the new birth. Which
he's laying the foundation, and so was Paul to the Colossians and James. You say they all start with the bedrock. Jesus, his death, burial, and resurrection. The word of truth. Short message. It's not long and drawn out. The Colossians got it in one day from Epaphras. Since the day you heard it.
Isn't it Peter that gives you that picture that it's a foundation?
Yep.
Starts with Jesus, then they build on it, and it's like a spiritual house.
Yep.
Is his description of it. And we're just like bricks that keep being added into the building.
Yeah. I think, though, when you go back, when you try to define deceit, the evil one, what he did, because we just read where sin comes from. It's a process that starts in our mind. But in the case of the garden, the evil one took something good and turned it bad. I mean, he was basing everything, his whole argument and thought process, he would take something good and he was wanting to turn it into bad. You go back and read it. There was a lot of positives.
The promise was, the lie was, and you'll be like God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Without God.
Without him.
Now, they didn't put that in there, but you'll have the knowledge of God.
What he's actually saying is you'll be your own God.
But you'll have the knowledge of God without God.
So,
yeah.
That was the part he left out, because that's what it means to be alienated from God.
Right.
When you become your own God, which that's the point I wanted to make, because when you read Hebrews 5, I think something we take for granted is the ability to distinguish good from evil. I mean, which is the world's oldest trick. And I did it when I was a kid. When you do something wrong and you're confronted about it, your best excuse is say, well, I didn't know it was wrong. I didn't know that was wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, how you going to punish me? I didn't know.
Well, how many people have been pulled over and said, and some state trooper says, here's what you did, and you're like, well, I didn't know. I didn't know the speed limit changed. I didn't know that this, that, or the other. I mean, does that get you off the hook?
Yeah.
No.
Which I think in this setting in Colossians, they're all sitting in the church building, and somebody's knocking at the door, and they're like, "Well, who's that?" When they're like, "Well, it's Jesus." So, well, what's he want? We're not. Oh, we're doing something wrong here. I mean, it's the same.
Yeah.
Because you justified it in your mind.